This is Calvin Castine. We're situated diagonally across from the former Dewey Tavern, possibly the most historic building in Clinton County. During the War of 1812, many treaties were discussed between American and British military. When the British invaded the United States in early September, late August 1814. This is where they camped. The officers stayed inside, and the troops were gathered around in about a mile radius of this area. And after the Battle of Plattsburgh, many of the wounded in the ground fighting, the land fighting, were brought back here, and some of them died and are buried in an unmarked family plot located in that general direction. But we are not here on this Friday, May 9th to discuss history. We are here to try to hopefully prevent a few students at Northeastern Clinton from making history, making sad history. This is an event we see quite often at the area schools. It's a mock DWI accident. They're doing this a week before prom, trying to send a message to the students that drinking and driving do not mix. And it'll be demonstrated in dramatic form here. Students will be coming outside very shortly, and then Mr. Greg Martin will be taken over, and then they'll unveil the accident that's covered by this tarp.
Through the extra planning and efforts of many people, we would like to present to you this afternoon an experience we sincerely hope you never have to deal with, your family never has to deal with, and your community never has to be involved in. The Prom Committee, notably Ms. McCarthy and Ms. Stein, have worked long hours to plan and implement this program for you, the focus of this event. This is an informational program, not a scare tactic, but one dealing with responsible decision-making and awareness that your decisions and your actions matter to us all. You will soon be on your own, making life decisions importantly, these are events you will never have to be involved in. We are here to make you aware that the decisions you make affect not only yourselves, but others as well. Parents, other family members, community organizations like our volunteer fire departments, the police departments, and our neighbors are all affected by destructive decision making. Sunday is Mother's Day with its own special meaning. Next weekend is your prom with another set of special moments. We hope these memories will be great ones. The stuff that brings smiles and tears of joy as we remember them at future class reunions and future family events and gatherings. The scene you're about to see is a simulation of what happens at the scene of an accident. Each of the elements depicted are based on actual calls that both the police and fire departments must respond to many times during the year. You will see a recreation of the immediate aftermath of a head-on collision between two autos somewhere on a road in the town of Champlain. As the tarps are removed, imagine that you are a bystander at this collision. The accident has just happened, and a passerby has already called the police to report a serious accident. The car on your left was driven by a young man who was driving his date and another couple home after a prom night party. The driver has been drinking. And even though his friends told him he should not drive, he assured everyone He was just fine. And don't worry about it. He'd always been a skilled driver. And his friends thought that this one time would be okay. While driving down the road, the young driver swerved to avoid a deer. Since his reaction time had been affected, he failed to swerve back into his own lane quick enough and struck an oncoming car head on. The other car contained a family of 3. The police are about to arrive on the scene.
Get her off. You have to do. Somebody help us! Somebody help us! Look, get her to make her move. Instead of, James, wake up.
Can't feel anything.
Mike, help her, don't leave her there. Oh my god, ow, it's on my leg. Oh, get her, Mike, don't just leave her there, you have to help her. Help her. Mike, what did you do? Can't do it again. Oh my god.
Did you know the phone?
Mike. Stay away. Stay, can't. No, stay away, can't. Stay now. Mike, help her. She needs to get out. Help her. You have to help her. Just make her. Stay away. Oh my god, it hurts.
Help me out.
Like, I can't feel my legs. Help. What's going on? Don't just leave her there. Get her off. No, she has to. Make her move. Just try. Mike, you have to try to get her out.
I don't want to hit her anymore.
Tap her on the phone. Get her out.
Like, the door won't open, like, it's clutching or something. I can't move.
I can't feel my legs. What happened? Help. James, stay away. Don't. What could you do? Can't be happening.
Somebody help Dana.
Oh my god.
The ambulances should be arriving shortly. The call has gone in. The police should be arriving on the scene very, very shortly. There's a body on the hood. The one on the ground.
James, you have to stay away. Stay away, James. Help us, somebody help us. Dana, wake up, you have to get up. Dana, answer me. Dana. Hold on. It's on my leg. Are they okay? Just get out. Get me out of here. What happened? What? Mike, why did this happen? Dana. Please get up.
I hear a siren.
Dana, wake up.
This is on the 9th day of May 2003 that we're taping this. Yesterday there was a similar recreation
Dana, wake up. Answer
in
me.
Ellenburg, at Northern Adirondack, but we didn't know about it till about 24 hours before the event and were unable to be there.
Child over here.
Help me out. I need to get out. Help me out. Get out. Dana, stay away. I don't know. Dana, answer me. Wake up, Dana. Come on, Dana, answer me. Get from my way. Help Dana, keep moving. Dana, wake up. Answer me, Dana. Dana. Get me out. Please help me.
As we've pointed out in previous
Please help me.
coverage of these events, DWI after a prom wouldn't be happening in daylight. These responders would be responding to this in the dark.
I can't feel my legs. Somebody help me out. I want to go home. Please do it. What is happening?
I hear a siren,
This can't be happening. This can't be real. Somebody
a
help
siren in the background. You can imagine the neighbors around here are going to be a little bit concerned. People just driving by. I know, and I did one at Ellenburg 2 or 3 years ago, right on Route 11. Really got the attention of the passers-by. It looked like the route. 2 Champlain rescue vehicles have arrived.
Stay awake, Chris. You need to stay awake.
Child.
Somebody else save us. She's not moving. Help her. She needs help. Somebody help her, please. Help. Please help her. Dana, wake up. Answer me, Dana. Mike, help Dana. Get somebody to help her. Can't feel my legs.
And one thing they didn't show in this one that we've seen in the past, and maybe it'll come later, but the driver of the car that got hit with an injured child is going to be extremely angry. Driver and any other passengers will be extremely angry at the person who drove into them. So they're not showing that here, but in a real accident, if that's your child laying there and some fellow was drunk and ran into you, before the police arrived, a lot could be happening between the 2 drivers here. A lot of physical confrontations could take place. Police haven't arrived yet. The EMTs are here. We're going to try to stay out of the way. They're standing by with the fire hose. It's a standard procedure in case gasoline would ignite. And it looks like we have a confirmed fatality covering the deceased. Injured in the vehicle. Taking the jaws of life to extricate the victims. Here comes sounds like the police or sheriff. Here comes the state police. We would expect that Champlain will be calling for another ambulance. I would expect that Rouse's Point would be here shortly. State police. And the sheriff. Sheriff's patrol. Arriving on the scene.
Joey, if you can just get an idea how many people we have on scene? Anything hurt with your legs, arms, head? Alright. And there's 3 people in the car. Your weight? What's your name? Dana? Okay. 4 people? Alright. Mike, when you're ready to do it, I'll let you come over here for a minute. Get up, bro. Come over here. I'm trying a little order of alcohol, Mike. What kind of party were you at? Drinking party? How much did you drink tonight? 3 or 4? Where are you guys headed to? Going home or is it another party? You're on your way home, but sure. Alright. What's your last name again, Mike? Tata, where is today? Friday? Alright. Just want to make sure
I'll call you!
Is this the father? Is this the father? Ease up. You'll find that out afterwards. You'll help yourself out afterwards. Come over here then. We might be working on it. Come here. Dana was with you, right? Alright, what you were looking at? Alright, just chill out. Alright, you're no good to Dana right now. We gotta find out if you're okay. That's the father and mother? Alright, just keep an eye on them. He's the slot. If he gets up again with his up his phone, get him up again, we gotta let him know. There's a discount or extra if he gets involved. We don't want any of that. Doesn't do any good for his daughter. Alright, what we're gonna have to do is measure and make sure you're okay. Alright, we're gonna go through some quick spiritual body exercises. Come here for a second. Come here. How much you guys drink tonight? 3 or 4? Not 2, not 5? 3 or 4? You're 4. Okay. Mike, what's your license? Your license on you? Got anything on you? Come on, you're going to stop that. Alright? Who are they? Looking hard. Okay, let me go.
Rouse's Point has arrived.
Okay, so no height figures. Very time you leave your hips, your feet. Okay? Okay, when I tell you to, you're going to have to do the following exercise. Alright? What I want you to do first.
There are 2 fatalities so far. The child here. And the front seat passenger.
With your eyes only, keeping your head still. You understand this instruction? Here, take your pen. Let's put the pen on your right pointer finger.
All these firemen and EMTs
Keep your eyes only, take your pen.
responding today as they would in a real incident, as they do in real incidents, on their own time. All the training they go through on their own time. But they're here today giving up their Friday afternoon so that hopefully they won't be called out at night at a future date to a real incident of this nature. Driver getting a breathalyzer test. Not breathalyzer yet. They'll get a breathalyzer later, I'd imagine. Right now he's getting a sobriety check by Trooper Bernie Bullis.
Alright. You know where James lives. You gotta notify his father of any injuries. You don't have any idea. Okay. Just again, Joey, try to get the name of the passengers and we'll do some notification of injuries at that point.
Every parent's nightmare to get that call in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just maybe gather the information from the cars, registration, insurance cards. You might be in the glove compartment, or we'll do up an accident report. I'll give you a holler if Mike gets a report. Right, what I want you to do right now, alright? Don't begin until I tell you to. What I'm going to have you do, with either leg, whichever you with, stay with your hands down to your side. Don't do it until I do it again. With your foot out in front of you, extend it straight, and your toe pointed down, your eyes are going to tip your toes. Try to look fast, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, all the way to 15,000. You understand that? Every time you drop your foot, sign after, you pick it back up and see what's going on. It's going to be enough faster. Okay. You don't want to do that, stand up your side, put your foot out front of you. Get on in, take it back to down, right? So dry, you look at yourself. Nice and loud.
No, her head is not covered. Maybe she is. Maybe there's hope for her. Meanwhile, the roof has been taken off, the jaws of life. They're quickly taking the roof off with the jaws of life. And now they have to try to get these people out. The date of the driver is lying here. Her lifeless body on the hood. Some of these kids will just laugh this off. Consider it a nice diversion from school. Others will take it to heart. Some will be profoundly impacted today, and a week from now will barely remember it. Still have a body on the car. I think our driver will be cuffed and taken away. With my guess.
You got to do this right now. You're not force up this person real good. Stay that way. Be smart. Be smart. You had too much to drink by our exercise. Let's go down to the station. We'll go through the breathalyzer. We'll explain your mind around. We'll give you your Viva DWI warning. And then we'll go to the steps. What can you do? You think they're okay? You think they're okay? Yeah? Okay. Look up on it, it's tight. Alright. 45140. Go ahead, 145. We'll be on Pocket Boulevard, can you tell us to come back up?
There's the driver being led away. Ken LaPlante, do we have one fatality here?
Sorry to say we have two.
Two fatalities, a little girl also?
Yes.
Two fatalities. Here's the hearse The hearse coming to take one of the bodies away, the first one, second one. A little girl was taken away in an ambulance. Reading the rights. While his rights are being read to him. The first fatality. His date for the evening.
When you submit to a chemical test for the purpose of varying the alcohol and the drug content of your blood. Mike, they're going to give you your Miranda warnings as well. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say kind of words you get you a court of law. You have a right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. If you're afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you for this charge before any questioning if you will. You may decide any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. You understand anything is right to explain to you. Like one strong of this is questions beyond how to relate to an object. Okay? So how do you recommend you get started? Okay. What I do, you get the other stuff in the car, turn on the accident plate. You guys are buffering in. What's that, okay? You're not so size, yeah, you're not, you should keep over my jacket now. Well, you can use a little flutter. Just keep on there.
Being taken away in a body bag.
Thank you. I guess my identification. You guys see any more in the back seat? I got 4. Joey, you want to drive in the corner between the seats? On the front and outside, between the seats. It's loaded. Do I take the picture?
The deceased body has been loaded into the hearse.
We're going to take our markings and mark the road. We'll take our pictures. We'll do our time change. It seems one is deceased, right? And the other 2 are seriously hurt, or? Okay. Well, we might be looking at vehicle and manslaughter. Joey, I'll tell our DCI to come down.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will now move back into the school building. Please move quickly to the high school gym so that our program can continue. We have some very important speakers waiting for us there to tell us how events like these affected their personal lives. Thank you for your attention and perseverance.
The scene is shifted now to the gymnasium. For some reason the auditorium's not available, so we're not quite sure what our sound will be like here, but we'll try to pick up what we can. Gymnasium isn't quite made for the acoustics of the auditorium.
Can you hear me? Okay, we're going to continue with our program. We're on a little bit of a time restraint here. But first of all, I'd like to make some acknowledgments here of Operation Prom. Ms. McCarthy and Ms. Stein have worked many, many hours on this to make you think, to keep you safe. If we do this, and just get one of you to change your mind about drinking and driving, not just on prom night or forever, it's worth it. I would like to acknowledge the Champlain Fire Department. What a wonderful job that they have done. I would also like to acknowledge the Rouse's Point Fire Department. Great job. We have two people here from law enforcement, Deputy Upton and Trooper Bullis. Wonderful job. Thank you very much. I don't know if they come in, but the representatives from the M.D. Clark Funeral Home, Corey Ross, I think one of the most dramatic things that I hope had a very strong impact on you was when they put Nene in that body bag. That was her biggest fear. Hometown Cable, Calvin, thank you very much. The Northeastern Clinton faculty and staff, Ms. Crowley for your help, building and grounds, Jim Menard, Bob Guerin, Lee Guerin, and not to save the best for last, but ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you a huge round of applause for Mr. Rick Hazen, our coordinator. It is my honor now to have Ms. Carley read a letter from the Clinton County Legislature to present to our sad President and Vice President. Ms. Carley.
Good afternoon. I would like to have Ms. Sherry Brunel, who's the Vice President of SAD, and Garrett Woodward, who's the President of SAD, to come up. And while they're doing that, before I read the proclamation, on behalf of the entire school district, besides thanking all the fire departments and the state police, the sheriff, everyone that was involved, I would also like to thank Mr. Martin, Mrs. Stein, and Mrs. McCarthy. Everyone that's involved has been working perhaps almost 4 months, coming in at night, having meetings, because everyone in the community cares, and not only does everyone want you to have a wonderful prom, but they all want you to be here next to your same friends after the prom. So I'd like to thank them also. I wish you'd give them a round of applause for all they did. The proclamation from the Clinton County Legislature says, whereas traffic crashes are the greatest single cause of death for people between the ages of 5 and 32, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation, National Highway Safety Administration, and whereas more than 43% of all 16 to 21-year-old deaths result from alcohol-related motor vehicle crashes. And whereas recognizing the impact statistics such as these have on our community, Clinton County has, in cooperation with the District 3 Fire Department, Champlain Fire Department, Rouse's Point Fire Department, New York State Police, Clinton County Sheriff's Department, and Northeastern Clinton Central School, developed a local Operation Prom Night program. And whereas Operation Prom Night is scheduled to be held at Northeastern Clinton Central School on May 9, 2003, and will involve a simulated automobile crash resulting from a teenage driver en route to the prom, driving under the influence of alcohol. Now, therefore, I, James R. Langley, Jr., Chairperson of the Clinton County Legislature, do hereby proclaim May 9, 2003, Operation Prom Night in Clinton County, New York, and through presentations and simulations, the various Operation Prom Night agency sponsors urge every resident of Clinton County to become aware of the concerns of driving drunk and strive to reduce the number of these types of crashes.
Thank you, Ms. Crowley. Our first speaker today, we have had the opportunity to hear her speak on behalf of this very important issue many, many times. Ms. Joan Fleury is here with us again. May is a very tough month for her. Many of you have seen her speak, have heard her speak, know that she speaks from the heart. So without further ado, Ms. Fleury, the junior and senior class, and as we turn back.
I don't know if I should say it's nice to be back, but if somebody listens, that will be nice. My husband and I do this all the time. And yes, May is a really hard month for us. We have had about, this is like the 5th prom night session that we've done, and we have 2 more to go. So this brings back the fact that our family is without one of its members. My husband and I had 9 children. 9. I heard somebody say it's 9. He was on the police force and retired from the police force. We were involved in many community activities. He sings, I sing. I used to play organ for church. We're both in the Kiwanis Club. June 2nd, 1982. That's how long ago this happened. And I have to tell you, it does not get a lot easier. You learn to live your life from one day to the next. But it's always there, the empty spot. We had raised 9 children. Karen had, they all had graduated from high school. But as a mom, I was there all through their young years. My husband worked, I stayed home. I watched them creep, I watched them walk, I watched them learn to ride their bike. Good memories. We used to have a lot of fun. Well, we still have a lot of fun. But somebody would fall on their bike and they'd come running in the house. And Mom would be there to kiss away the cold. Well, Karen had grown and had left home. She had a job. She had a boyfriend. She She had gotten her own apartment, which she was sharing with a younger sister, one who had just graduated from high school. They moved in together. Karen didn't want to learn to drive because she said there were too many crazies on the road. And yes, sometimes they are. But she loved her bike. June 2nd, 1982 was a beautiful evening. Karen got done work, she jumped on her bike and went out for a ride toward the city beach. Little did she know what was going to happen. You know, you always think this does not happen to us. This can't possibly happen to us. But it does. And it can. A young man had been drinking all afternoon. And he's in his Volkswagen van. And he was just having a good time. And you know, back in 1982, it seemed to be the norm to go out and drink until you couldn't walk. People didn't just go out and have a beer, they went out and got slammed. So this guy had done this. And he happened to be on the same stretch of road that Karen was on. Hit our daughter. She was thrown to the pavement. The bike was a tangled mass of metal. There were many witnesses, and they called for help. The police came, the ambulance came, and you saw it all out there. It's scary, isn't it? The young man, because there were so many witnesses, was arrested in his van, in his driveway, not too long after. But when he hit her, he didn't stop. He kept on going. He got up to the traffic signal, got out of the van, looked back. What in the world happened back there, you know? Got in his van and he drove away. That's pretty hard to take. Karen had no ID on her when she was riding her bike. Whoever thinks of taking ID when you go for a bike ride, I don't. And I do still ride my bike. But she had no ID. The ambulance picked her up, took her to the hospital. She was admitted to the emergency room. It's Jane Doe. Our daughter, Karen, was Jane Doe. No one knew her there. No one was aware of who her family was. Finally, someone said, you know, I think this could be a flirty girl. She fought for her life for over 2 hours, completely alone, no family, no friends. thank God for the caring EMTs, ambulance crews, and other people that were there. But Karen died alone. She had really bad injuries. No one was there to kick the beast loose. So when someone decided this could be a flurry girl, they said, I think she has an apartment on Staley Avenue. And some of the police went down there. They found her younger sister at home, 19 years old. 19 years old, people. They asked if she could come to the hospital and look at this person and see if it might be your sister. Teresa thought she was doing us a favor. She thought, I'll do this so Mom and Dad won't have to go. Can you imagine being 19 years old and going to the hospital and seeing your sister laying there dead? So then, Jim was sitting at home. I had gone to a meeting. The police knocked on the door. Oh, yeah, he says, a couple guys came to say hello. Well, they didn't come to say hello or make a social call. They knocked on the door, he answered the door, and they said, can we come in? Yeah, come on, you know. Jim, we have some really bad news. Is anyone else here? No, my wife is at a meeting. Well, we have to tell you. Your daughter Karen was killed by a drunk driver. So he immediately got on the phone and he called me. He knew where I was. He called me and he said, please come right home. By the tone of his voice, I knew it was something terribly bad. I came home and he met me in the driveway. I got out of our car and he put his arms around me and he said, "Hun, Karen has just been killed." I don't remember what happened right then, but I knew I let out one yell that probably would have been heard for the whole city block. I couldn't understand this. How could this happen to us? Karen didn't drive. We had not done anything. She had not done anything. Why did this happen? Because somebody made a stupid decision. We got on the phone and we called Sandy and Candy and Linda. Teresa was there with us. Ricky, Peter, Jimmy, and Tommy. Already here are 11 victims. Karen, her 9 brothers and sisters, her 8 brothers and sisters, and her mom and dad. 11 victims whose lives are changed forever and always. because of one little minute. It's something that can't be taken back. We had not even planned our own funeral or gotten a cemetery lot for us. This is Mom and Dad, right? Mom and Dad usually die first. Here we are in the middle of this fiasco, this horrendous happening, and we really didn't know what to do. We had to go down and make arrangements for the funeral, get a cemetery lot. And decide what it was we wanted Karen to be buried. I want to tell you, when you go down to her apartment and start going through clothes and say, what would she really like to have on? Everything you touch, you remember her wearing. We had to clean out her apartment, and that was awful hard. So, we had the funeral, and then everything kind of hit home. Here's this big empty hole in our family that's not ever going to get better. We go through Easter, we go through Christmas, we have birthdays. No Karen. You know, I've often wondered, what would she have been like? Because as a young person, she was quite shy. She was a beautiful girl. I thought she was a beautiful girl. She was on the prom court. She was very sensitive to other people's feelings and very compassionate. Who can answer why? I can't. The day, I have to bring this up. The day after Karen was killed, the younger sister who had gone to the hospital to identify her said, Mom, I think I would feel better going to work. So I said, whatever you are comfortable with, that's what you have to do. I got in the car and I took her to her job. Guess what? It was out at the north end of the city. We had to go right by the spot where Karen had been hit. And in so doing, I noticed something beside the road. On my way back through after I dropped Teresa off, I stopped. And it was somebody's shirt and a towel, something, some clothing or something that somebody had put under her head. I really didn't know what I should do with this. I didn't want it left laying in the road. I picked it up, I took it home, I put it in a plastic bag. I didn't even tell my husband about it. Here are these cloths with Karen's blood all over them.
Elfridge please come to the office?
I certainly cannot keep this always and forever. This is not even healthy. But you know those things stayed in my drawer for well over a year. And I didn't tell you about our visit to the hospital. Because Mom and Dad did have to go to the hospital. Even though Teresa thought she was doing a big favor. And God love her, I don't know how she did it. But we went to the hospital. I don't even know to this day where they took us. They said, follow me. And we followed them. And they wheeled this stretcher out with the body in it. And we went over and we looked at Karen. It was not Karen anymore. It was the shell of a body. The life, the enthusiasm, all the joy was gone out of her. We told her we loved her. And we told her goodbye. If anybody had told me that morning that this is what I would be doing, I didn't think this could ever happen. So now when we have all our celebrations, there is no joy. But I want to tell you something. The guy that had been drinking, that hit her and killed her, he has a family also. He had a mom and dad living, and I know there was a sister. I don't know if there were others or not. Nobody in that family ever called us and said, I'm sorry. I met the girl last year, the sister of this man. And she introduced herself to me. And I kind of got a little hysterical about the whole thing. I said, my God, nobody has ever said anything to us. She said, we wanted to, but we didn't know how you would take it. This is 20 years after the fact. And someone finally came and said, we're sorry about your daughter. You know, I am glad I'm here because I think you need to hear this. I think you need to know what happens to a family. I think you have to know that the pain does not go away. You are at a time in your life when you have big decisions to make. Please, God, let them be the right ones. I know nobody plans this. Nobody expects this to happen, but it does. Just one more thing. There is a register at the funeral home. I made copies of the pages out of that register. There's about 18 or 20 names on each sheet. One person drinking and driving, and this many people affected. More than that, these are only the ones that came to the funeral home. These are co-workers, schoolmates, teachers, friends of ours, friends of her brothers and sisters. Think of it, people. And you know, it doesn't even have to be you doing the drinking and driving. It could be your best buddy. It could be your sister. It could be anyone. It could be someone you've never even met in your life. I need you. I need you to pass the word on that this is not good. This is not something that responsible people do. I'm so tickled to death that you have a sad group in your midst now. And they told me that it was formed after my husband and I spoke up here. So, do you know how good that makes me feel? That someone paid attention and is going to carry this on. Because God knows I can't always and forever be here. I had a young girl from the college call me and say, Mrs. Fleury, do you think we might be able to make a tape of you and your husband doing a speech? Telling about this part of your life. Because she said, I don't know anybody else that is willing to stand up and tell their story. It's not an easy thing to do. You relive the whole thing all over and over again. Ask anybody that speaks about it. I appreciate you asking me to come up here. And you have been so attentive. Thank you. I appreciate it.
On behalf of the students at Northeastern Clinton, Mrs. Fleury, thank you very much for your heartfelt discussion with our students. Not to forget anyone, and certainly I'm not slighting anyone here. I would really like to thank our student participants today. You have gone out on a very thin limb here, and you've done a wonderful job at going through this, and I hope the student body appreciates what you have done for them today. I would also like to recognize quickly our Clinton County Stop DWI Director, Molly Lamoran, who does a wonderful job with the educational process as well as the law enforcement process in this county, keeping the Stop DWI issue on the front burner rather than on the back burner, and keeping programs with Mrs. Fleury alive like this. It is an honor to introduce to you Mr. Rick Hazen, who has coordinated this program but also has a very special message to share with you today.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me up here. My name is Rick Hazen, as Mr. Martin said. I'm a 23-year veteran with District 3 Fire Department outside the city of Plattsburgh, past fire chief, assistant chief, and we run heavy rescue, same as Champlain does. The story I'm about to tell you affected me not too long after I graduated from high school. So put yourself in my position, because you're about to go on an adventure, hopefully not as terrible as mine. I graduated from Mount Assumption quite some time ago, and after that I decided I was going to go to Paul Smith College. Nice college out pretty much the woods area outside Saranac Lake, and we grew up in that area. When I went to college, unfortunately, there wasn't much to do up there. There wasn't where every student had a car. So when we went to the college, it was a Porsche school, and 15 miles from Saranac Lake. So there wasn't much activity. In the middle of the winter time, when it's 20 below zero up there and there's more snow than there is human beings on the ground, all we could do is drink. It wasn't an excuse, but when you graduate from high school and you go out of college, quite a few factors change in your life. The first thing is you don't have mom and dad to wake you up in the morning. You're your own boss when it goes to school. And trust me, you don't realize what it's like until you get to college and all of a sudden nobody's there to tell you to get up in the morning, nobody's there to tell you to go to class in the morning, nobody's there to do your laundry, to make your food for you, or to tell you when to go to bed. Some kids are very good at doing the regimentation, some aren't. When I got there, all the kids in my dorm, oh boy, we studied hard, we did what we had to do, but in the evening we would go get a case of beer, bring it back to the dorm, we drink it. Or if we really got crazy, we'd go into Saranac Lake. And without many vehicles, we would put anywhere between 2 and 10 kids in a car. Nothing, just pile in, don't worry about it. There wasn't, not the saying law enforcement didn't do their job, but they weren't there to check on the seatbelt. There was no seatbelt law. There was a lot of things that were different. So if you can imagine being on your own, like a lot of you are going to do after you graduate, there's a lot of different things that don't affect you. My first semester there was terrible. I'm lucky I still got to go to college. I was at average grades. There's nobody there to tell you. Second semester, boy, just like Plattsburgh State, where you saw an instant television about the fraternities, I joined the fraternity, although it was different then because they were all acknowledged by the college. There was no problem. They had hazing. I will very, very much admit it. I'll admit to the point where you pledge for 2 weeks, and then you have what they call Hell Weekend. You make it through Hell Weekend and they like you, then you get to become a brother. After you become a brother, you get to look forward to get the next group in the fall. And that's what we did. Of course, you're 19, 20 years old, you can't wait to take these freshmen in and give them the time of their life for 2 weeks. They got to follow behind you, they got to do this, they got to do that, and then when it comes to Hell Weekend, believe it or not, it is Hell Weekend. I'm not saying we made them drink water like they did here in Plattsburgh, but I will tell you that they did drink, and that was part of it. They got to our college at Friday night at 5 o'clock, they got to our dormitory, or our frat house. And all the fraternities pledged at the same time. We kept telling our people, whatever you do, this other fraternity, when it comes to the weekend, they're not going to beat us at what we call the scavenger hunt. Everybody came to our dorm area, met, and we brought them to the fraternity house. Friday night at 5 o'clock to Sunday night at 5 o'clock in the elementary. We went drinking. We got them drunk all weekend. Saturday night we said, okay boys, there's going to be a scavenger hunt. And it's this group against this group against this group. You give them a list of half the size of Mrs. Flurry's, you say, you go find these items. Now, unlike what we would be thinking of, you've got to make them go into Saranac Lake and tell you how many bricks it took to finish that building. Or get the 8-ball at the pool table at a local bar. Or go get different items. There was a list of 20 items that each group had to get. Each fraternity house's pledges had to get that. We told our kids, our brothers, if they made it back for any other group, then Hell Weekend was over, you guys remember. While they're out looking for their stuff, we're in there at a place called The Store. It was a bar, and we drank. I don't know how many are familiar with little cars like they used to have the Escort, they used to have the Pinto, they used to have a Chevy Vega, 4 cylinders, hatchbacks. After our group got their list, because what they could do, it was after midnight. We put them all in our car, and we said, okay, we're going to go back, and it looks like you guys are going to win. Now, if you win, like we said, it's done. If you lose, Hell Weekend is going to continue because we're not going to be beat by another fraternity. We've been drinking, and we have been drinking very, very hard. The drinking age was 18 then. We got going down a stretch of road, and I figure at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, we like going down this road. You're not going to see many cars either way. We're driving. My best friend that I met my first day at college was driving my vehicle with me. We were in his vehicle. We're going down the road, another car in front of us, and we figured it was our people, and there was cars in back of us. They were all trying to get back the same way. We went around and passed this car. Now, who's going to think at 1 o'clock in the morning you're going to see another car coming at you head on, or coming in the opposite direction? Well, trust me, we did. Not only did we see a vehicle coming at us, when we're side by side, but we had to swerve for that vehicle. We rolled our vehicle. They're telling me 7 times we rolled that vehicle and landed upside down in a potato field. You've got 8 people in a car that's meant for 4. People were thrown, people had broken bones. The driver, who was my best friend, was pinned from the waist down under this car. The car's on its roof and he's here. Now, unlike what you saw here by these professionals right here, Saranac Lake Fire and Rescue was 30 minutes away. You heard how Megan screamed out there. Real life, my buddy is screaming, he can't feel his legs, and there's not a doggone thing that Rick Hazen can do about it, except for just stand there and look helpless. What do you do? You're so drunk you don't know what's going on. Time was in a time tunnel. My friends were here laying on the ground, playing. He's under the vehicle. He survived. He went to the hospital. He ended up going to Burlington. We were going to graduate in 2 months. We were going to graduate. So everybody put their graduation into effect except for my friend who couldn't graduate. But 4 other people decided that since he couldn't graduate at that time, we were going to spend the summer working for the college, get him back in the fall semester, even though he was in a wheelchair. And we were going to help this kid graduate because he was our best friend. He was our brother. All summer long, I kept talking to his mother and father, making sure everything was okay. They said fine. Labor Day weekend, we should have gone back to school and get him to graduate. And we were going to work for the college and maintenance people just so that we could get him through. We put our lives on hold. We put our jobs on hold because of what we felt to him. I got a phone call from his mother 2 days before we were supposed to go back. And I said, "What's going on, Mom?" She said, "Rick, are you sitting down?" I said, "Mom, what's the matter?" My best friend was so worried about being a burden to us that he took his own life because he didn't want to have people take care of him. Can you imagine what it's like to have a phone call come and say he's not going back to school? I didn't know what to do. I let him drink and drive in that car. We didn't think anything of it. And there's one thing worse than that. He had met a girl from up there, a local girl, beautiful girl. We were engaged to be married after we graduated. They put that on hold. She could live with that. But what my friend didn't know is that she was going to surprise him. She was pregnant with his child. Do you know what it's like to be the godfather to a child and have this boy ask you as he goes along in life, "What was Dad like?" I can tell you what he's like. He's a hell of a lot better man than I am because he wouldn't have let his best friend drink and die. He would have said, "Give me the keys." I can be proud of the fact I haven't drank in over 20 years. Occasional drink now and then, yeah. But this little boy just got married, graduated from college, and wanted me to be there with him. How do you tell your friend, like Joan said, you're affecting not yourself? Go to class reunion and you see a picture of your friends up on the wall of the dorms and the nice fraternity groups. I've gone back to the fraternity many years, and each time I've gone back, I've stood there and looked at his picture on the wall when we were pledging ourselves. I'm not saying fraternities are wrong, I'm not saying that part is wrong. What I'm saying is, if you guys go to this graduation, if you go to the prom, just do me a favor. And I mean this with all my heart. If you get in a situation where you have got a problem with drinking among your friends, and you need a ride home, you ask any one of these people, or one of these people, or myself, and I'm sure one of us will go pick you up and bring you home. No questions asked. It affects you, and it affects your family. And I can't live with what I did. And I don't know how I can ever change what happened. You can't. It's just that quick. The car's coming at you, we didn't see it, we were kidding, we were raising hell in that car. All I'm asking you is, please think. 1 second time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden. Your discussion is at best the personal issue here. To conclude our presentation, I would like to introduce Trooper Bullis to give us his interpretation of today's events, as well as his feelings on this subject. Trooper Bullis.
Hi guys, you know who I am. If you don't, Trooper Bullis. I work as a school resource officer here at school. I've been a state trooper for a little over 11 years. And to give you an idea, and I'm not going to try to impersonalize what I'm about to tell you, but part of it is a job I have to do. And part of it is what I don't want to have to do to you guys. Because I've gotten to know you. From Russell, Ben, Dutil, Sherry, and I can go through all the names. So it really digs at you that much more if you're in a situation where you have to do your job. Oh yeah, tickets and arrests and all that other stuff. But one thing that really digs at you and you don't forget is having to make death notifications. Death notifications is part of my job. So the best way for me to do my job is to take the person or the emotions out of it the best I can. And respectfully help somebody get through the passing of their child, their parent, whoever it might be. So that's what I try to do. But getting connected with you guys would make that real difficult. I'll give you an idea of what it's like. We investigate those accidents. The professionals here, this is all an investment in your community. They're not getting paid to be doing this. This is an investment in you guys to make a healthy decision. But when I have to do an accident, I'll go through, I'll mark the cars where they are, I'll make sure the identifications are located, I'll identify the bodies. The worst thing in the world, Sergeant State, is when there's we can't find one of the bodies and it's involved in a car. Go figure. We go through the strategic steps of reconstructing a fatal accident. Marking locations of the car, taking pictures of the whole area, securing evidence, as simple as a beer bottle at the evidence scene, because that scene is a crime scene. And quite often, a crime may have been committed. And that's part of my job, to systematically go through and investigate that, so that justice prevails and an education process can happen, and you guys, as well as the general public, come to an understanding of the consequences that occur. But getting back to getting connected with you guys, if I have to go through an accident investigation like that, where a body's on the hood, and I can give you some horror stories, and I'll give you a quick one, but accident, young kids, we're right around the corner. We get a call from a neighbor who said, and this is over in Morris, a neighbor who said, I heard a loud noise. We're within minutes. So we get to the location on this rural road, and we see somebody dragging themselves across the road. We don't know where they're coming from. They're just dragging themselves across the road. Couldn't even walk. Lucky we were aware of it, or else he would have been run over. We look up in the tree, 3 feet off the ground, impaled in a tree, was a car with the top of the hood, top of the car, impaled into that tree. Ended up being 2 people in the car when the accident happened. The person who dragged himself across, who survived, and the person who was pinned inside crying for help as we approached the car. What do we do? What can we do? We tried to do first aid. Fire department personnel were on scene very quickly. But what can we do? I see a pair of legs sticking out, screaming for help. Hey buddy, hang on, hang on. So you go over to the other guy and try and keep him from following the shot. You have your first aid kit. Apply what you can. But that is the end result to a bad decision. Yes, the driver was drinking and driving. And everything is systematically done. From the beer bottles, to the interviews at the roadside, to how Mike was in our presentation. You saw how it's systematically built in building a DWI arrest. To the securing of blood. That is stuff I've been doing for a long time. But being connected to you guys now would be real difficult for me. Because what we had to do with that accident was a standard death notification. So you show up to somebody's house, and it's real quiet, nobody's around, no one's coming to the door. You go over to the neighbors, you wake them up, you ask them to come over. Could you come over? There's been a real bad accident. Your neighbor might need a little hand. Back to the door we go. Finally a light pops on. This older lady shows up. She happens to be the grandmother who's living in the house. And now her daughter, who is the mother of the victim, comes down. So, ma'am, can we sit down for a second? There's been a bad accident. So you can just imagine the concern in her face. We sit down, we get something to drink. She's all confused. Why is my neighbor coming in? Well, that's done systematically for support. We don't know who's going to be there. Support, like you know, Mr. Hazen was making a reference to. They tried supporting their friend. You need that support in that kind of situation. So I proceed to tell her, and this is what would really gut me out. Get to know you guys. And having to tell your parents or a family member, I'm sorry, your son just died in a DWI accident. that sort of thing. It's easy to be impersonal and systematically do something. Once you get connected to a group like you guys, it really stinks. So you're just not, your decisions don't just affect you and the person next to you. They affect 5 or 6 people around, or those people up there. All those fire department personnel who have to go to accidents continually. The teachers, the parents, and the police. So what I need to impress upon you is to make a good decision. Because you don't know what the consequences of your decision are going to be. And that's what we're trying to impress upon you now, what those consequences are. But please, don't, not trying to be idealistic, I know there's going to be some stuff going on, but don't be stupid. And don't force me to knock on your door, have to do my job. Because death notifications are no fun. Thanks.
Child group.
Okay, I'm good. Before you leave, a lot of times at your age, I know some days you just have those days when you feel like you're all alone and no one cares and you're out there by yourself. So what I'd like you to do is take a minute. Perhaps you don't know all these gentlemen and ladies in the room, but obviously every one of them cares a great deal about you. They all care about you making good decisions and them not having to see you in a position that they don't want to see you. So if you look around at all of them, you may not know them all, but they all care. And they all are glad to be here. They've given up a lot of time and effort to be here to prove to you that they care. Look around at your friends. I'm sure you value each other greatly. I'm sure you want to see each other at graduation day. The thing is, the choices you make to drink and drive, to let your friends drink and drive, you need to think about now before you're in that situation. Because once you're in the situation and maybe your thinking is a little impaired, it's too late. So I'm sorry if we brought tears to any of your eyes, but it's better for you to cry now for your friends that are alive than to be in that moment when it's too late. So once again, I would like to say to you, I am very proud of you. I'm very proud the way you've been so attentive and so responsive to all these people that gave time to come. I'm very glad that you're all happy and healthy today. And hopefully in the future, you will all make good decisions at those moments when they will make a difference in everyone's life. Thank you for being so attentive and being here. And have a good weekend. Thank you, everyone.